Hi, my name is Vicky Morell. I'm the Accounting Partner Director here at Source Advisors. Source Advisors has been around for nearly as long as the R&D tax credit scheme itself, and we continue to provide support and assistance for accountants and their clients. Welcome to At Source, our series where we talk about all things R&D tax. Joining me today is our Managing Director, Luke Ham. Welcome, Luke.
Hi, Vicky. You all right?
Good, thank you.
Good.
The series that we've been undertaking recently, we've been doing a deep dive into R&D tax and talking about the nuances of the scheme, the merge scheme, and all the changes that we've seen recently. Obviously, in your role as Managing Director, you spoke to lots of accountants and business owners. I guess my opening question is, what do you think confidence is like out there at the moment? Do you think there's a change in appetite to make R&D tax credit claims by businesses? Or do you think that it is sort of the same as it's always been?
I think it's a really important question, and I think the timing of the question is spot on. When you think about R&D tax as a part of government policy, it is exactly that. It's a part of a wider policy. So when we kick it up to the macro level, confidence is shot. The growth in the UK isn't where it needs to be. It is dominating the press. It is dominating business planning. So I think even away from some of the struggles that we've seen in UK R&D tax, we have a sense that businesses just don't feel confident right now in the UK, and equally how the government mechanisms support them. For accountants, time after time rated the most trusted advisor. They are the ones hearing and seeing the impact of some of these decisions by government, but also some of the economic uncertainty we have. Well, it's felt like we've had it for years now. It's almost just a common feature. We need to break that cycle. Accountants are at the front of it. Accountants are on the front line with businesses trying to work out how on earth do we support you in the most appropriate way. And that has come down to some risk aversion around R&D tax. R&D tax is an investment mechanism. It's not a tax. It's an investment mechanism. It's one of the largest investment mechanisms under the R&D spend for government. And I think we need to get back to that story. We've definitely seen over the past couple of years, accountants feel like this is a risk when dealing with HMRC versus an opportunity within the UK.
So continuing on that theme of accountants, as I say, we speak to accountants a lot. We position ourselves as wanting to be a partner to the profession. What does that mean to you? Or what do you think that we need to do to actually support the profession, particularly navigate all the changes and everything we've seen over the last 6, 12 months, maybe 2 years?
Well, number one, I would say we need to bring some mojo in the room. I think when it's so easy to think about some of these subjects being difficult, challenging, and one of the things that drives confidence is knowing that you've got people around you that will help get the right answer, that there's some energy about the subject matter. It's so easy to talk when things get difficult about what's wrong, how we navigate, as opposed to bringing back a level of what we know our stuff. This is complex. This is difficult. And accountants continually being pushed to do more and more. You've seen, over the past couple of years, the impact of private equity and ownership within the space has driven accountancy firms to continually think about a growth trajectory, which is probably not as common to what you consider historically for accountancy firms. Now, they've always had growth mindsets. Every business owner wants to grow their business, whether it be accountancy, manufacturing, whatever it could be. And with that pressure of how do I do more? How do I create share of wallet for my shareholders? But how do I bring value? I think practically the only way they can bring value is thinking about the network of advisors they can have around them and bring them in the room when it matters most. And that's what I want us to do. When I think about partnership, I think about knowing that I can wheel you out. Source Advisors, I can wheel you out in front of my most important client. And you're going to make me look famous. You're going to make the value chain even more solidified for that client. And that for me is what true partnership is.
Maybe a little bit of an unfair question, but one of the questions that we get asked by accountants frequently is, do we think there will be further changes to the scheme? If there are, what do you think that may look like? Mm-hmm. And probably connected to that, what would you say accountants should be doing to kind of be proactive and almost get ahead of the curve with any potential changes that may come in?
Yeah. So I think the key thing is what accountants should do. The practical advice is R&D tax needs to become real time. And when I mean real time, it's not at the end of the accounting period. It's as they kick off their business plans. When we think about some of the changes in the scheme already that haven't worked their way through, you have to be ahead of this. You have to understand how those businesses are thinking about how they're contracting with people, their ownership of the IP within the contracts. All these things can't be done retrospectively. So the number one piece of advice would be get ahead of all these conversations, as opposed to having a situation with a client that then asks, well, why didn't you tell me earlier? The year's finished. I can't change history. Will there be changes to the scheme? I would love to be able to give a definitive answer. I think there are a few things that are still up for grabs. I think, firstly, the conversation around de minimis will not go away. And I think there's some validity in the conversation around a de minimis level being reintroduced. When we look at the most recent statistics, there are over 17,000 claims made at what is considered a relatively low level of qualifying expenditure. Now, when we think about the administrative burden on HMRC, and actually taxpayers and their advisors wanting a better service from HMRC, it is a completely fair question to ask, should that efficiency come from doing less and what you do better? And that's why de minimis could be a subject. The other point is around advance assurance. Advance assurance, there has been consultations, and I think there is some opportunity, but also some serious risk. What I would hate to see is the scheme to become more grant in nature. And if it becomes almost a complete acceptance up front, I think the intent and the accessibility of the scheme would be damaged so significantly that it would do nothing for confidence. So that's one to watch, advance assurance. From our conversations, and we try and stay as close to the conversation as we can do through various channels, is that I don't think there is the Treasury's appetite to go to a full approval process and make it into that grant space. However, I don't think any option at the moment is off the table. So we have to be alive to what those changes could look like.
It's really interesting. There's still lots of talk around the UK industrial strategy and innovation. So I guess my next question would be, where do you see the role of R&D tax advisors? Do you think there's space for us within that conversation?
Yeah, well, I hope so, because I want to keep people employed. I think the key thing with the industrial strategy, there's 10-year plan, 8 sectors. The idea to have a plan that transcends a government and that can be committed to brings that back to that conversation of confidence. When I think about the role of R&D tax, I think it goes further than that, and it's not just about R&D tax. It's wider tax policy. Full expensing has been introduced. Have we seen the impact of how that makes businesses think and invest? I don't think so yet. I'm a huge advocate for R&D tax. And I think you've got some really strong elements of HMRC as a deployment mechanism. And when we think of alternative deployment mechanisms available to government, to Treasury, you have the British Business Bank, who did an incredible job through COVID and has continued to be a really, really wonderful addition to the R&D ecosystem. And I think that's the thing I'm most passionate about. When we think about what we're trying to achieve here, what the policy aims of R&D tax is now, is actually all about the UK being a destination for innovation, create those innovators, attract those talents that creates that economic impact. So I actually am not that precious about R&D tax. I'm far more precious around what mechanisms can be put out into the business community and what role advisors can take in making sure those policies work. R&D tax worked well because advisors were involved. Now, of course, there were some bad players, but that will happen in any form of tax, any form of incentive. But the key thing is that do not assume that a tax incentive or a policy aim will be delivered well by itself. It needs an advisor community. And that's where specialist advisors, accountants, lawyers are always going to be a key part of the ecosystem.
In the recent series, we've talked a lot about the changes to R&D tax, what's happened over the last couple of years. So to show a little bit of who we are here at Source and personality, I'm going to ask you a personal question now.
Cool.
What keeps you motivated and has kept you motivated through all these changes in the world of R&D tax? And on a personal note, what do you love about being the managing director of this business?
So the thing
Assuming you do love it.
Yeah. I think the thing that keeps me engaged around the subject of R&D tax, it is the point of innovation. I'm a firm believer it is the thing that will get us growing. I'm a passionate Brit and would love to see the UK really see through its potential. And that does include how our universities continue to be world leading, how we encourage talent. And that probably leans into the thing that motivates me the most as well. 2 kids, 2 boys. And I think you think about the opportunities that the next generation will get. And they're going to have, it's a generation now that will be the first real adopters, the natives of AI, and how that encourages the workforce. And I want the next generation, my children included, to be absolutely committed to growth, to have a mindset that really turbocharges not just business growth, but personal growth. Using AI and using the technology that continues to form around us to just accelerate some of the dull, some of the boring, to make sure that what we're doing really fulfills our potential. So yeah, motivation is that. And as well, it's been a real privilege running this business. It's a sector that you get to see such a cross section of businesses, and people think about, when you think about what goes in the news, you think about really funky, high valuation software businesses. That's the thing that usually tends to get the headlines. The ones I love and the ones that I continually get surprised and excited by are the many SMEs across the country, everywhere in the country. You probably drive past them and you drive past the office, and behind the doors of the industrial park, they're creating something that will make your head spin because of how impressive it is. These are the businesses that actually really, really matter to the UK. And so every time you go on site with a client, you learn something, you see something that is just incredible. So yeah, there's lots of things to be passionate about here.
That's great. Really, really good to have the conversation, Luke. And I think that if nothing else, everyone can see your passion and energy and probably what keeps us all really motivated to work in this space. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.